Hello, we're now beginning chapter 16. We're going to be focusing on schools and achievement, and I'm hoping we're going to be able to do this in 3 sections. We're going to begin with the history of education here in the U.S., teaching styles, and achievement. Schooling has changed considerably, even over the last 100 years. Originally, here in the U.S., individuals who received an education received it at home until they were about 13. The families then might send their offspring off to Europe for further schooling. Schoolwork was characterized by memorization. If you've ever read any of Laura Ingalls Wilder's books, her training to be a teacher was almost entirely memorization of material. Latin and Greek were taught, as it was believed that these subjects disciplined the mind. Only in the last 100 years have most people attended schools, although in many areas of the country, school only went to 6th grade. The primary purpose of education was to learn to read the Bible, also to do basic math calculations. Changes began here in the U.S. in the 1930s during the Great Depression. There was the urgency to keep jobs for adult married men. Society needed to deposit their younger males somewhere, and high schools were created. This cemented adolescents seeing themselves differently from children and adults, a trend that had begun in the 1920s. The term teenager first appeared in the 1930s to designate this group. Now, in the 1940s, business influenced schools to introduce changing classes, not because there was too much material for any one teacher to master, but so that students could get used to changing stations when they went to work on the assembly line. 12th grade was added to South Carolina schools in 1948. There's still a debate regarding our need for this grade. Some countries only have till 11th grade. Others have till the 13th grade. Let's take a look at these people. Ron Page, Margaret Spellings, Arne Duncan, and Betsy DeVos. These people have been, or they are, the U.S. Secretary of Education. Now, that always is a concern for me that our Attorney General has always been an attorney. The Surgeon General has always been a physician. However, only one of these people, Ron Page, has ever taught in a public school. Betsy DeVos notoriously had never even been inside a public school until she was appointed to the job. These people are tasked with making serious, critical decisions about a job, teaching school, that they've never done. And you can draw your own conclusions. Now I want to talk about instructional styles. Okay, we'll begin with the direct instruction method. It has the strongest research behind it. This is very much teacher-directed and teacher-controlled. It's often in-your-face instruction with clearly designed requirements. It can be deadly dull, and it's not known for fostering creativity. Another teaching method is the cognitive constructivist approach. Okay? It allows a child in their own time and pacing to explore and learn from the environment. It's based on Piaget's theory. We'll often counter this type of instruction in preschool and at least part of the day in kindergarten programs. The third teaching method is the social constructivist approach. It emphasizes peer teaching and collaboration. It's based on Vygotsky's theories. Most millennials and Gen Zs have been well exposed to this type of instructional model, usually beginning in late elementary school. Now, one of the big debates we have relates to employing developmentally appropriate practices. Because there has been pressure for higher and higher levels of achievement, we have pushed down many requirements. We introduce fractions in kindergarten, not in 4th grade as we used to. Multiplication facts are presented in 3rd grade. It used to be 5th. Kindergarten programs especially struggle to balance direct instruction approach with the cognitive constructivist approach, often trying to incorporate both approaches. In kindergarten, children no longer have time for naps. There is much less free playtime, where Piaget would tell us that young children learn best. One kindergarten teacher I know shared that she looks at the current South Carolina curriculum and shakes her head. She shared that her son is a rocket scientist. He works for NASA, but she feels he would have struggled under current kindergarten requirements. Now, some good news. Dropout rates are declining, especially among Hispanic groups, which rate education as important as healthcare and immigration. Next, we have some cross-cultural achievement comparisons. These are the 2018 PISA results. It's a measure of reading, math, and science administered internationally to 15-year-olds. The U.S. continues to be in the middle of the measured countries. We attribute some of the differences to different samples of students being evaluated. There are also some known differences in attitude towards achievement and different teaching styles. Now, something else that we think contributes to the differences in math achievement is based on recent research. This research suggests that number sense is the critical predictor of math readiness. It's similar to phonemic awareness predicting reading readiness. One of the odd factors that feeds into our struggles with gaining number sense is our confusing English number names. Chinese is much more straightforward. It has only 9 number names. English has more than 24 number names. Now, this is the end of Chapter 16, Section 1. Next is Section 2, Special Education.